Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sharing the presentation. Okay, I just give a first recap from start once again. Just
Mhm.
a quick recap. Basically, participant setup is nothing but uh, it's how you set up, how you tell Sterling OMS that how your organization works in terms of how your organizations are being set up. What is your catalog organization? What is your inventory organization? What who are your buyers? Who are your sellers? And who are your main enterprise legal entities that can sell or buy or be a customer facing front, uh, and who are your warehouses and who are your fulfillment locations, basically like the stores, the nodes, or the warehouses. So now, to start with any order management system, you need to have this setup within Sterling OMS. The reason being, without any business rules, without any financial rules, without any inventory rules, logistic rules, you cannot do any business, right? In terms of if you're doing a business of e-commerce or retail or whatever. So, uh, so this is a very basic thing to start with when we start on Sterling. Uh, and this is the first part of entry when you start working on Sterling. So whenever you build any organization from scratch, or you onboard any organization from scratch on OMS platform, this is a very basic thing, and this is the most difficult thing to set up also,
Mm.
because it requires a lot of business thinking. This requires a lot of technical thinking. I mean, there are two legs of any application, right? Business and technical. So sometimes things are very feasible uh, on a business level, but they might not be feasible on a technical level. So we have to always correlate what business is and what technical things we can build up. Sometimes we have to also do a lot of customizations around this module, participant model, that we have to maintain multiple organization to achieve what business setup. So I'll just give you one example also from one of my client, like where we faced a lot of problem in the end. Uh, so so as I said, who are my participants? What are they allowed to do? How are they allowed to do? And with whom are they allowed to do? So these are the basic rules in participant model. And from participant, you got an idea, right? Like all your entities of a business entities that you have.
Right.
Then these are the organization hierarchies. We have business groups, we have companies under them. So just to correlate within your Ralph Lauren, right? So let's say Ralph Lauren is a business group and they can have multiple companies, right, over them. So maybe they have one Ralph Lauren 1 and Ralph Lauren 2, and then they have the legal entities. So legal entities are maybe geographically based. Like let's say we have Ralph Lauren India, we have Ralph Lauren US, and we have Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. So there, so whatever transactions we are doing in Ralph Lauren India or in Hong Kong, they will be obviously transacted to a different accounts. And that's how the legal entity comes into picture. I cannot go to Ralph Lauren Hong Kong uh, for any legal issues for a product which I'm buying in India, right, from Ralph Lauren. So this
Mhm.
is the basic idea about the legal entity, like why it is important. As a company, it's Ralph Lauren, right? As a business group, it's a Ralph Lauren. But overall, it's not. I mean, easy to maintain everything in a single group. So they have to create different entities. Guys, just give me 2 minutes, okay? I'll be back.
Sure.
Yeah, guys, I'm back. So, so it's very important to have legal entities because without that you cannot do business. Then we have purchasing organizations. Uh, Purchasing organizations are nothing but these are kind of let's say you buy a lot of products, right? I mean, to fulfill customer requirements, Ralph Lauren must be purchasing some goods or raw material or even the direct products, the final products from maybe local entities within your country, right? Let's say Hong
Mm-hmm.
Kong. So you have to create those organization as a purchase organization. So maybe uh, in Ralph Lauren, you might be having some buyer organizations where you might be creating, let's say you might be purchasing some products. Let's say if Ralph Lauren is dealing in sports product, right? So maybe you might have collaborated with Adidas, and then you must be trying to buy it from Adidas. So those are your purchasing those are your buyer organizations.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have sales organizations. Now within Hong Kong, uh, you can have your different sales organizations also, right? So I'll give an example. So in India, for Adidas, we have two entities. Okay. So why I'm taking Adidas example, because I've closely worked with them. So in Adidas, they have two different entities. One is Adidas, the normal one, and for Adidas Kids, they have a separate entity. Uh, how that becomes separate is, Adidas Kids is not a direct entity of an Adidas. So they come with a partnership with one of the Indian player, that is Reliance, and that's how they are selling it over here. So they cannot have single sales organizations, right? So if I'm buying it from Adidas, which is a normal franchisees, normal stores that we have across the globe, so I'm purchasing it from the Adidas entity. Let's say if I'm buying from a kid and I'm going to Adidas Kids, it's somehow not the direct entity of an Adidas. It comes as a sales organization which has a partnership with the parent group, which is like the Adidas Business Group and the legal entity of India, and that comes as with the Reliance as a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever sales I'm doing with Adidas, it will be recorded into two different books. That's what how this differentiate from having with a different legal entity. Then we have sourcing locations, that I think pretty much clear. Like we can source from multiple location, we can have stores, we can have warehouses, all those stuff that comes into picture. So are we clear with this slide? I mean,
Yeah, I
everything
think
is
so. Yeah.
okay. So this is just a representation of uh, roles in OMS language. So we have hub, we have enterprises, we have buyers, we have sellers, we have nodes as fulfillment locations, and then we have logistics, also carriers. Going further, you guys have already gone through what the hub means, what enterprise
Yes.
are, what buyers are, sellers are,
Yeah.
node and carriers. And then this is a screen of application platform in Sterling,
Mm-hmm.
application manager, uh, where you do all your configuration. So this is a very important tool. Once you start working on Sterling, this will go hand by hand. I mean, you have to keep open this in your laptop and you have to work on this until unless you are only working as a business guy or a product manager. But yeah, if you're working as a developer or an architect or a lead, you have to go through this page every day. I mean, this particular application.
Mm-hmm.
So how it gets installed, everything that we'll cover in the installation session coming week. But yeah, this comes as a single package with OMS. Now, how to create an organization? So the everything, once you open the screen, you will land up into file, application, help, only these three tabs. And then you go to in application, go to application platform, and then you end up having this screen where you go to participant setup. There you get an option that you wanted to create a new organization. So if you see this screen, right, this is the extended version of it on the right side panel, where you get a view of how to create a new organization. And then this pops up. Here you enter all your details, like your organization details, the address, the basic details, that ever whatever you want. See, everything is also not relevant in terms of Sterling, because Sterling doesn't need everything to to do its business, right? I mean, maybe those things are required on a business level, but maybe on a technical level those things are not required, and you sometimes don't need to enter also. Then once an organization is created, you end up into this page where you start entering the, where you again can change and set up rules, which I was talking about earlier, that you can enter the primary info, you can, so you can start configuring your organization. So this page just creates a template, okay, for your, for like the organization you are creating, the participant that you are creating. And when you land up into this page, this helps you to further configure the advanced rules, all the things that you can, all the configuration that you can do in an organization. Okay, so legal entity. So if you see, there is a very small flag over here, which is legal entity. Uh, and why it is important. So legal entity is an organization which is recognized by your government, of the local government over there. So let's say if any customer has to put us, has to sue you, right? Or like your product quality is not good, or something has happened wrong. Maybe on an organization level also, you have to sue one buyer that the product quality was bad, due to which our name got spoiled. So all those things happens from that. And why this is very important, I mean, this is a self-contained organization, uh, which is responsible for recording any transactions and supporting documents. So all your finance transactions, everything will happen here. All your payment related informations will be responsible over here. So
Mhm.
these are very important. This flag is very important. Whichever legal entity you are making is actually a legal entity. You will be I mean, that will be responsible to take up any legal and finance matters of a company. Okay, so then we have the other roles and participants, which I think Abhishek has talked about earlier. I'm not going
Yes.
to detail. Then we have organization. Again, these are very basic details. Payment info. Has he discussed about payment info in the last session? Hello?
I'm thinking, have we?
It's
I
okay.
forgot. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I think so, for all the tabs here, even the calendars, child organization.
okay, okay. Yeah, he told me till 20th page he has covered.
Yes.
Yeah, so payment info, you just provide whatever details you wanted to give. It's very basic. Then we have child organizations. As I said, right, an organization can have different organization below it, right? So as we discussed over here in this very much screen,
Mhm.
so if you see, right, all these organizations tag to each other. So let's say if this legal entity, right, this legal entity is going down and it has the sales organization. So indirectly, these sales organization are the child organization of a legal entity. And then this legal entity is a child organization of your business group or companies, right? So everything is correlated. One organization is a parent, one organization is a child of it, right? So
Mhm.
this is, tree becomes a set. It's like a tree, like a setup, basically. Okay, so okay, and then you can set up the calendars, on which calendars are very important. I'll just give you an example why calendars are very important. I don't know if Abhishek has talked about it or not, but just to give you a recap. See, do you understand about the concept of store capacity?
Yep.
Yeah. So in a store, you always define a capacity, right? Like these many things, these many orders or lines you can picked up in a store, like a backroom pick, or you keep it ready for customer, or you keep it ready for shipment, right?
Hmm.
So now when you create an order, right, the significance, the calendar significance comes on that page. When you create an order, right, and you say to customer that your ETA, your EDD, your expected delivery date is 2 days, right? Okay, and but you know that your estimated time of, like, your SLA to pack, to pick the product from the back, from the shelf, the backroom pick, and then you do a quality check, and then you do a packing, and then you generate your invoices and shipment labels and everything, and then you keep it ready for customer, those SLAs are, let's say, 1 day, right? But at that point you realize that a customer places an order on Saturday and Sunday you are not working on that particular store from where you're doing the fulfillment, right? So
Right.
indirectly it will add an SLA or an extra added day to your EDD. So calendars are very much important when you are working with real time deliveries dates, right? And in today's world, it's like instant. It's not even a e-commerce; it's a quick commerce right now. I mean, we have across the globe we have many enterprises which are delivering in next half an hour. So you can understand the importance of calendar and capacity. So this is very important when you start working on any of your store fulfillments. This comes very handy with it. Store calendars are very much required.
Okay.
Then we have departments. So what does department means? So in general, right, departments are basically whenever you set up any organization, you maintain a list of departments with it. So giving an example, this is not very much important as part of organization generally. uh, Across my experience of 15 plus retailers, I have never configured this. But why it is important? So in an organization or in a store, let's say you have a different department, so you start creating those departments over here, so that tomorrow if you need any sub level of configuration within a store, let's say you want to understand that my this area of my store basically works for the shipping labels or work for the invoices. So you can add all those details over here, and you can uh, track over your orders also. You can say that, okay, within your order journey, you wanted to track the journey of your store fulfillment, right? So you can see, okay, these are the departments, and from here the product will go and go to the next stage and then the next stage. This is like that. This is not very much important, but if you still wanted to I mean learn from your what do you say, the certification point of view, this is just an added feature within your organization where you can define the sub entities of your organization. Let's say in a store you can have a shipping label, you have a packing area, or you maybe have an aisle area where you just, when you keep your shipments ready, you just put it over there, which are ready to for customer pick in for any customer pickups. You just put it in an aisle area or a pickup hooks over there, so that you just know that, okay, this department code is taking care of that. So this is that particular area in the store. Then we'll talk about the fundamental attributes of an organization. So administered by. So you create an organization, right? And you wanted to define now which enterprise can administer this organization. So let's say you have Ralph Lauren Hong Kong and you have Ralph Lauren India, right? Giving an example. Now you have three stores in Hong Kong for Ralph Lauren and three stores in India for Ralph Lauren. Now you cannot have this configuration of on any store, like any, whenever you create any store, you create an organization in OMS, right? So now you cannot make India store should be administered by Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, right? That cannot be possible. So basically, administered by is nothing but kind of a parent organization, kind of an organization which controls this particular organization, right? If you are, let's talk about uh, Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. So who can administrate it? So it can be administered by Ralph Lauren as a business group, right? So
Mm.
tomorrow if anything goes wrong in Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, whom you should reach out? You will definitely reach out to your the business group, which might be the headquarters in US or somewhere. So that will be the main group that you will be talking to. And in generally usually we call that business group is kind of an hub organization. I think you have learned about hub organization. So
Right.
generally, when you talked about administered by, it's kind of mainly the hub organization which are by default. So this default organizations are always kind of an hub organization if you don't define it. So by default, the hub becomes your default organization. So this is very important because we inherit some of the rules and other stuff from your business group and we start following it up. Then parent organization. So we have administered by and then we have parent organization. So giving an example, we have uh, uh, we have talked about Ralph Lauren as a business group, and then we have talked about Ralph Lauren as in Hong Kong as a legal entity. Then I talked about Ralph Lauren sales organizations also. There can be different sales organization. Maybe Ralph Lauren is selling uh, through their own website, so they have a Ralph Lauren organization as a sales, but they might be selling it through Amazon or Alibaba.com or a lot of other websites. So they also kind of a sales organization for Ralph Lauren, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So so now how how you define which is a parent organization, right? So when I say I created three different sales organization, one is Ralph Lauren in its own, the next is Ralph Lauren Amazon, and then I created Ralph Lauren Alibaba.com, right? So now we have three organization as a sales organization, but they all correspond to a single parent, and that is Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, right? So this is how the parent comes into picture. So technically you have three different sales organization which are totally separate, but if you wanted to go by the books or maybe you wanted to go by the legal of it, you always go to your Ralph Lauren as a parent organization, right? So this is
Right.
how the parent organization rules comes into picture. And why it is important, because as an organization you might have different sales channels, but I am as a customer, I will not go to Amazon for any. Let's say you are selling some. Let's talk about any furniture organization, right? Let's say I don't know if you've heard a name of Williams Sonoma in US. It's a very big furniture retailer. So they basically when you buy a product, right, a furniture product. Let's say I bought it from Williams Sonoma. Now I bought it from Amazon, right? But when I get the warranty, I don't get it from Amazon, right? The warranty is linked to the parent organization of the product company, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm buying if I'm buying a dining set, right, the dining set is not uh, though I bought it from Amazon, okay, for any delivery level related issues, like the product was received broken, that time maybe I contact to Amazon because they are my first point of contact as a customer. But once I bought a product, it might be tagged to a warranty with it. Let's say 5 years warranty of the wood that you're buying, right? So now that warranty is not tagged to Amazon. I will not go to Amazon after 2 years. Okay, my product got termite, right? So I won't go over there. Where I will go to the Williams Sonoma as a parent organization. That I bought a product from your organization through Amazon, and this is the product ID. This is the warranty ID I was provided, and I'm facing an issue. So you got my point, right? Your sales
Mm-hmm.
organization can be different, but your parent organization will be one, mostly in that area where you are operating a business. So this is the importance of parent organization. I hope this is clear, right?
Yeah, I think I would like to share that if we try to map the Ralph Lauren business, we are having one single brand as of today. So that will be the company level. And I think legal entity level is quite clear that we can have different regional offices
Mhm.
having specific business registrations. And then I'm not quite sure about the purchasing organization. Pretty much, I think it's our centralized sourcing team located in Hong Kong
Okay.
that managing multiple vendors. And sales organization, I can pretty much map that to our different businesses, like
Mhm.
apparel and footwear. We have also got the home
Right.
furniture business as well. And then we also have our food and beverage. That's the coffee shop that also we are managing in the region. And then maybe an optional channel is the e-commerce channel. So that will be based on the business decision whether they would like to have a separate sales organization being set up that way.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Got your point. Yeah, I think pretty much same. I think the structure that you told me about Ralph Lauren is kind of same. Every entity nowadays are following. I mean, this is a very basic setup, but the only thing is it's very important to understand why these small configurations are important in your Sterling when you start working on it. So I mean, I would say that as you're learning partition setup, I would say that you should do an exercise at your own. Maybe you, if you want, we can also help you out there. Just try to go through your participant setup and try to see all these parameters within
Mm.
your coordinate, how they are being set up. You will be able to, because you know your business way beyond what I know, right? So you will be able to relate, okay, this is the way the system is set up in Sterling. And when you start working on it, or when you start designing on it, you will be able to understand, okay, this cannot be done. Why? Because this is not a parent of this, right? So I cannot inherit the rules from that, right? So something like this, you will start talking in those terms.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Farron. I have a question about the administrative part. Will it be affect to the user access right to that organization? For example, like what Duncan said, we are a blend of Ralph Lauren, and we will separate into maybe Ralph Lauren India or Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. If that organization or that store is administered by Ralph Lauren India, and I'm a user account of Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, would I have the administrative rights to edit anything for that organization? Or
Okay.
this is just for information?
So are you talking about the user, that if you're a user of an of like Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, or are you
Yeah.
talking uh so
As
users
the
of, okay, I got your point. So basically from users, what I mean is that uh in OMS, right? Users is a very generic term. I mean, in terms of users are like uh, in terms of, one is like the OMS user. So let's say when you create users in OMS, I don't know if you guys have worked on Amazon or not, but generally we create a users groups and users. I will talk about in the upcoming sessions, maybe day after tomorrow. So what are these users? So users of which enterprise organization is like, if you're an employee of, let's say if you're a user of of an Hong Kong Ralph Lauren Hong Kong entity, then you will not be able to see the details of Ralph Lauren India, right? So because you are being a user of, you're being created as a user under an enterprise which is administered by Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, you are not allowed to look upon the rules of Ralph Lauren India, because these are security issues also, right? You
mm-hmm,
don't want to breach the security of another geographical region, because sometimes we have rules at a government levels also, right? That nobody can look into the config, though you are a same business group, Ralph Lauren, but as you're working in Hong Kong, you're not allowed to do a business in India, right? So
mm-hmm,
all your users of Hong Kong are not allowed to see any configuration, so they have a restricted role. It's a good point you picked up from this line, which I forgot to mention, that users, when we will create, we will see in coming slides, coming sessions, they are confined to only organization under which they are created. Okay, so now giving an example, coming over here. So let's say you create a user which comes under your business group as a Ralph Lauren. Okay, now that is your parent level user, right? The hub level user. So if you
mm-hmm,
create a user at a hub level, he can see everything.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so he can see, okay, I can go to this organization, I wanted to understand how their payment is set up. So let's say for an example, today you are live on Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, and let's say tomorrow you wanted to go to Ralph Lauren Japan, right? And now as a user, maybe for the Japan team, you assign somebody from Hong Kong team to help them go through the configurations and help them set up their participant setup, right, in Japan. So now what? So maybe the user, if you've created any user at a Hong Kong level, it might not be able to do the configuration at a Japan level. But if you have a user at a hub level, that they will be able to do.
Okay.
Okay. So it's up to us where you wanted to create the users, and usually hub levels are better because in generally you always wanted to have a look and feel of your all legal entities and all organization, because as a developers, as a architects, we are not going to play around with any legal things, right, within Sterling, because it's very limited. So generally when we create users, we create it at a default level, mainly, I mean at a hub level.
Yeah, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, moving to parent organization, I think pretty much clear. Yeah, this is another configuration which tells us basically from where you wanted to inherit some configurations. Okay, so there are two things. One is primary enterprise, and one is inherit configuration from enterprise. So what is the difference, right? Uh, so let's say uh, I gave an example right just now that you wanted to set up the configurations from for Japan, Ralph Lauren Japan. Let's say tomorrow you are going live in Japan and you wanted to set up over there. So you have to build participant setup. You have to create organization related to Japan and everything. Now let's say Japan works totally in line with what Hong Kong is working today, right? So you might have set up some configurations like we are talking about all these configurations over here, which might be similar to what you will be doing in Japan also. So now rather than going to each and every configuration, right, one by one, you can use inherit configuration from an enterprise, right? So for an example, as Duncan, you gave one example, right? In Ralph Lauren, you can, as a sales organization, you might have different businesses, right? You might be selling apparels, you might be selling footwear, right? So, but they all have kind of a same configurations because they're all corresponding to Ralph Lauren Hong Kong as a legal entity or something like that. So rather than going to configure each and every organization and doing all these configuration one by one, some of them are very much required, but let's say some of them are not required, right? Like all these administrated by all these things, you can just click one single button that from which organization you wanted to inherit. So this is a very handy handy drop down when it comes to a very elaborative business groups, or when you are onboarding some new countries or new sales businesses within your same country, all those stuff. Or maybe let's say you're opening a store, correct, within Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. So and you open a store A on 6 months back, and now you wanted to open a store B, which is similar setup like store A, just that the address is different. So you can, but all your configuration, all your capacity, all your calendars, everything you wanted to keep it same. The store operates in the same time on the same calendar. The store has the same set of holidays, everything, and the stores have same kind of fulfillment options. You can do BOPIS, buy online pickup in store. You can do ship from store. You can do ready for customer. So everything, curbside pickup, whatever configuration you have set up on store, you wanted to put it in store B. So this comes handy in that way. I hope this clears what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, then prime, why I'm putting some details, guys. This might looks very small configuration, but why I'm putting some more, I mean, my energy over this, because these are very important. I mean, when I started my career in Sterling OMS, even I didn't know that these configurations will come so important. when my seniors gave me these sessions and everything, I was also thinking that these are not very much important. But when I started working, I realized these are the basics. If you don't understand this, then it will be tough to relate things when you start working on OMS. So that's why it might looks bit more theoretical, but these are very important. I should really recommend you guys to read it about more in the documentation. I will be sharing slides also today, and you also start going through what you say your current Ralph Lauren setup to relate.
Mhm. Okay.
Then we have primary enterprise. Uh, Primary enterprise is nothing but you have basically this administered by, and then you have one primary enterprise also. So what is difference between that? So primary enterprise is like you have uh, an enterprise and you wanted to look upon those enterprise business rules, but you don't want to inherit completely from it. So when you say inherit configuration from enterprise, this flag will inherit each and everything from that enterprise. But from primary enterprise, what do you mean is, let's say you set up some configuration, okay, and you gave the primary enterprise of it as a Alpha in Hong Kong, right? But when you are setting up your organization, maybe some rules you didn't define, but they are defined at a parent level or a primary enterprise level. So what will happen when product, Sterling OMS is smart enough that let's say when you're going through your order journey flows in OMS, whatever transaction in backend that happens technically. So if OMS doesn't able to find the rules at the current organization level, it will start looking up into the primary enterprise level. So let's say if you have not set up any um, calendars of a store, right? But you have set up the calendars of your legal entity, let's say Ralph Lauren, like when they are operational. So it will start looking into that if it
Mhm.
doesn't have any source. So this is how the primary enterprise come into picture. That in case if you don't have any configuration it or any business rules defined, it will start looking into your primary enterprise business rules. So that's why it's very important to define primary enterprise in terms of uh, anything related to one more example, right? So let's say uh, you let's say you bought you have an organization as a sales entity, e-com entity, right? You just created a sales organization within your Ralph Lauren that is an e-commerce or e-commerce.com site also that you can create an as an organization. Now obviously a .com site doesn't have any address, right? As an organization, it's just a web app. Now but you define primary enterprise as Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. So what does that mean? Ralph Lauren Hong Kong is kind of a legal entity. It has its own address. It has its own finance transactions details. It has its own other stuff, right?
Mhm.
So when I say when Sterling wants to understand, okay, this is an ralphlauren.com organization order. So I know, okay, this might doesn't have any address. So what it will do, it will inherit it from your primary enterprise because you have set up the primary enterprise as your Ralph Lauren Hong Kong. So this how this configuration comes handy when you start talking about primary enterprise.
Got it.
Uh, then we have carrier attributes. Uh, so carrier attributes are you can understand from the name itself, like it's nothing but your logistics part. So when you talk about carriers, right, you talk about a lot of services, right, that they provide: standard, express, your premium, something, right, all those things. So you can define all those services details over here. You can provide the SCAC and service code. Usually the logistics are related with the SCAC and the service code with them. You can provide any electronic code, the host code. I mean, I will not go into much details of it because these are very granular level details when you start talking about logistics. So it's nothing but the third party logistic that we talk about. So usually, I mean, sorry, when we do a business, generally I have seen even very big retailers also across the globe, they don't have their own logistics, right? It mostly a third party logistic that they do contract with, and those they have their own setup of attributes and services and their way of operations, right? So generally you sometimes don't define these details in OMS because you're mostly dealing with third party logistics. But even then, even if you're dealing with third party logistics, you still have to define those organization within your Sterling setup, right? So let's say if, as a Ralph Lauren, you might be connecting to multiple third party logistics, right? Within a city itself, right? For delivery of your products, for everything. So now all those organizations should be created in OMS, because when we start talking about shipments in OMS, so I give an example, right? OMS works on a principle of order and shipments, right? I hope you can understand this. Uh, I mean, on a technical level, documents I'm talking about. So OMS generally a very basic understanding of OMS is it works on a principle of an order document and then on a shipment documents. So what does it mean? You can have an order created in OMS, right?
Mhm.
Now you cannot track your order. You track uh, a customer cannot track its order against a single order, right? The reason is you have put 10 items in your order and you placed it. Now those 10 items are going into, let's say, 10 different shipments, correct? So you, how can you track an order against a single order ID, right? You cannot. So OMS comes handy with a shipment document. So basically an order can be linked to a 10 different shipments, and you track shipments rather than an order, correct?
Right.
So even when you place an order today on Amazon or any website, I think even in Ralph Lauren also, it should be at shipment level only. You don't track an order by saying, okay, where is my order? I always say, where is my shipment? So maybe you can order an t-shirt and a trouser. Maybe the trouser is coming from a different location which is far from your home location, but the t-shirt is coming from, let's say, from a nearby store the next to your building, right? So obviously the SLA or the expected delivery date of your t-shirt will be way beyond than the product coming from a different city altogether, right? So when we talked about orders or deliveries in OMS, it's always at a shipment level. I have not seen a single retailer maintaining deliveries at an order level. I have not seen. I mean, long days back, I mean, maybe even if I have not started my career, we do in India. I know that we had orders, deliveries at an order level, because that time there was no concept of split shipments. Like we were not doing any split shipment. We were consolidating everything and at a single consolidation location, creating a single package and then delivering it. This is way beyond 15-20 years back. But nowadays, to to keep the customer moving, to keep the customer keeping excitement, we have come to a concept of split shipment, because nowadays there are so many partners, there are so many third party logistics in the market that the rates that retailers get are very cheap, and that's why they have also started doing order deliveries in a multiple shipment. So because of the growing market and because of the competition that even logistic teams are facing, earlier when 15-20 years back it was a single logistics players in the market, the big companies, but now you have seen a lot of porters services and everything coming in handy, right? So this is how your OMS behaves in terms of order and shipments. And coming to this configuration, carrier attributes, you have to create all those third party logistics over here. They might have different services. Maybe one carrier service doesn't provide you an express service, right? Let's say they say our SLA is 3 days minimum. Either you give us an order on first day itself when the customer plays, but we take 2 days or 3 days to deliver to customer address, and we have a standard kind of delivery, so you can mention over here. But let's say some carrier says, no, we provide you an express premium support also. If you want an order to be delivered in 2 hours, we will deliver it. So this is how you have different characteristics of your carrier organizations, and that's how you start configuring it over here at a services level.
Right.
Right. And these carrier configurations are only confined to your third-party logistic organization. It won't come, you cannot configure carrier attributes at your legal entity, let's say Hong Kong or for a Hong Kong level, right? It doesn't mean, right? Because they are not carriers. Those organizations are not carrier organizations. So it will be always important when you're setting up an organization which is a third-party logistic or carrier for you. Moving to next is the node attributes. So what are node attributes in general?
Fulfillment point, the DC, the store.
Yes. You can have in OMS we generally talk about stores and warehouses as a single term that is called node. So your node is nothing but a fulfillment location or a consolidation location. So generally this is a very important part of your setup, because without fulfillment location you cannot even do sourcing, you cannot even do inventory checks, nothing in your OMS, right? So 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 what does that node means in generally? Node is nothing but, as I said, it's a fulfillment location and a consolidate location, and we can have different types of nodes. What different types we can have? We can have a store as a node location, as a node organization. We can have a warehouse as a node organization. We can have maybe a cloud kitchen kind of place as your node, right? We can also have a consolidation location. Maybe let's say um, uh, I'll give an example from one of the retailer I have been working with. uh, it's in Middle East. Okay, so in Middle East, basically, as I said, right, they always prefer, the customers over there prefer to have deliveries in a single shipment, right? So as I talked about it, right?
Mhm.
So it's an order and you have 10 items in it, and I wanted to deliver it into either I can do 10 different shipments or maybe 3 shipments. I can do a grouping based on my node location, based on my a lot of other factors. But the very basic criteria is the node location, correct? So let's say you place 9 items in your order, and now you can see the top 3 items are available in store A. The next 3 items are available in store B, and the next 3 items, last 3 items are available in, let's say, warehouse. So how will you, I mean, this is a question to you guys. So how will you source it or ship it in terms of that? Just wanted to understand from you guys, like in general, how many shipments you will create for that?
Free.
3, right?
Right.
Right. And why you chose that option?
Firstly, it really depends on the availability of the stock, right? And then the capacity of the store. Assume everything is okay, and then we ship it out as soon as we receive the pick ticket from the sourcing location, and that's why we having free shipment.
All right. So, I mean, I got a point. So the very first thing that came into your mind was the inventory stock, right? So
Right.
as I said, the first 3 were present in store A, the next 3 were present in store B, and the next last 3 are in warehouse. So generally, as a retailer, you don't want to fulfill it from the first 3. Let's say talk about the first 3. Maybe the first 3 are present in store D or store E also, let's say, right? But you know that if everything is present in store A, somehow you, to reduce your operational cost, you will try to fulfill it from store A, right? And you wanted to reduce your shipment. As a retailer, I don't want to bring more shipments into my system, because every shipment is a document for your carrier and it has an added cost to it, right? But if you're doing in a single shipment, it might reduce your cost. and even your packing charges is your store operations also has to do it in a single time. So all those things will come handy. So you can generally for a customer, maybe as I talked about in Middle East, they still want, maybe you can do a shipment in 3 different shipments, fulfill an order, as I said, this example. But as a customer, I say in my country, we prefer all the 9 should come in a single go to me, right? I don't want
Mhm.
to wait for or 3 different shipments to get my order. I have placed a single order. I want everything in a single chunk. I don't want to wait for your different shipments. So this is a mindset of the people of the country where my current retailer is working on, where I'm working on. So what they have done is they have created another kind of node, which is nothing but a consolidated location, a conlock location, basically. So what this conlock location means, your every shipment from each store will transfer to that conlock, okay? And over that conlock, you will do the consolidation, okay? And then that consolidated products will be delivered to the customer. You're getting my point, right? So
Right.
you are doing the transfer to your conlock, and then from conlock you do a single package. You put it in maybe a 3 different parcel in a single pack, and then you deliver it to the customer. So this is something new that I have seen. I've not seen in my past 12 to 13 years about the Colnock location, but this something have started coming into Sterling recently. Maybe it was there, but I have never encountered. But yeah, I have not seen much retailers, but they do. Some retailers are still doing it. So you can have stores, you can have warehouses, you can have any cloud kitchens, you can have any Colnock location configured as nodes. Now, as I talked about, these are stores and warehouses. So on the right side, you can see a lot of things over here, right? Sourcing, parcel carrier preferences, relationship from nodes, relationship to nodes. What all those means? Because it's a node organization and it's a node, it comes with a lot of other configuration within it. I'll talk about it one by one. Let's talk about this page screen. So we can have node type at distribution center. You can configure this node types. There is a configuration in OMS. I'll walk you over there, or you can create it from here also. So let's say you wanted to create different node types. Your node types can be your warehouses, which can be a distribution center. Your node type can be stores. Your node type can be, let's say, conlock locations. Your node type can be, let's say, uh, dark stores. I don't know if you have heard the name of this term, dark stores.
Yep.
uh, so dark stores are nothing but kind of a big stores which where you are pretty much sure you will find the inventory for all the products. It's kind of a small warehouse kind of stuff which I've seen many retailers are doing nowadays, a big stores basically. And so you can create any type of node types in your system, and based on that you will, your Sterling can do some configuration and you can start working on it, right? Now, generally, let's say, just to differentiate, a store, you don't need a capacity at warehouse, right? Generally, in warehouses, we don't maintain capacity. Warehouses are distribution centers, or warehouses are generally 24/7 working, right? So you generally don't maintain a capacity in warehouses, but at a store level, you do maintain capacity, because at a store level, you have timings, you have a logging on and logging off time in stores. You have different persons working on over there, and you have uh, you also cannot until unless yours is a 24/7 stores, right? You do have to give some on and off timings also, so that a customer cannot should not come to you on a off timings, right? These are very important. So why node types are important? So that you can set up different set of nodes and you can define different configurations against it. Now, uh, coming to this configuration, execution in node using. So in OMS provides you, the Sterling OMS provides you a feature where you can say that OMS does not handles the nodes, or maybe let's talk about one retailer in India. I know one retailer, or any other retailer also. For an example, I'm a very small business group and I don't have much more capital to build up my own stores. So what I will do? So maybe I will set up my stores outside of my business group. I will say take an order, I do everything, right? But I don't maintain my node organization, stores organization or warehouses. I buy products from a company. I take orders from customers and I fulfill it from another stores. So I'm just a mediator, right? But I am working I have a brand. But how I'm making a brand, I'm not maintaining any manufacturing, any storage, any fulfillment location by my own. It's just my brand name. I'm buying products from them, putting a tag on them of my brand and selling it off, right? So this is also kind of business, right? So here you sometimes say, I don't want to maintain I want to set up my Sterling, but just for taking orders. But I don't want to maintain any node configurations, anything within my Sterling. So here I can choose any external application to maintain my node configurations. So I will just take an order. I will talk to that application for any inventory check, for any capacity check, for everything. And I will get all the features what I can do what in Sterling OMS also. Or you can choose Sterling management system to maintain your uh, what you say uh, nodes configuration and each and everything. Then you can also use Sterling WMS. This feature is, I think, gone now. This particular checkbox. This is nowhere available now because WMS 6.2 is deprecated and it's nowhere used. And Sterling Warehouse Management System is also kind of not being used nowadays. So why these two checkboxes are there? Earlier, Sterling also have their own application of warehouse management system, like order management system. So they do have an application of warehouse management system also, where you can handle warehouses and stores. But somehow it is not in being in use because Sterling as a fulfillment suite provided its own management, right?
Hmm. Right.
That's how it's not in use nowadays. So but this is important, external application and as Sterling order management. So within OMS application you can maintain and within your external application. Okay. Coming to next. So this sourcing, scheduling and everything will come over here. One thing I was discussing with Abhishek that Noel, you might have raised that you wanted to learn about sourcing and scheduling configurations and more, right? So if you want, we can have that session prior to other sessions, as I discussed in yesterday call also. If we want to plan any session before you want to learn anything about sourcing upfront, maybe we can talk about it. We can
Okay.
define right. One thing more, this configuration relationship from nodes and relationship to nodes. So what is this configuration? um, you might have heard a concept of transfer orders or purchase orders, right?
Right.
So can you give me one very basic difference of what is the difference between transfer and purchase order?
Transfer order is actually intercompany PO that ship between two different locations, right?
Mhm.
And purchase order can be a PO placed to the manufacturer or supplier.
Right. So both are related to one thing, that is inventory movement,
Mm.
right? So either you place a transfer, either you place a purchase order. The common thing is between them is the movement of inventory, right?
Right.
But the uncommon thing which is there is nothing but the finance or legals related to it, right? Because you are creating a transfer order within an entity, don't have to create any legal things and all, because it's just a transfer from your one shop to another shop, right?
Hmm.
And but when you talk about purchase order, because you're buying a product, so you have all your finances, all your legals comes into picture, all your everything will come into picture. So this is a very basic difference. Now, how OMS leverage this, right? So OMS has a concept of relationship from nodes and to nodes. So I give an example. Let's say uh, you have Hong Kong as a geographical region, right? Now in Hong Kong, maybe you have north, south, east, and west, right? So you will be having four directions. And let's say Hong Kong is a very big region of kilometers of range. Now I have a store, let's say in North Hong Kong, right? And I have a store in South Hong Kong, right? I can have multiple stores in both the regions. Now, a customer place an order from North Hong Kong, right? And obviously, as your first sourcing, you will try to fulfill it from a North location store, correct? To reduce
Mm-hmm.
the cost, each and everything, right?
Right.
Um, Now, let's say my store A in North region doesn't have inventory, right? But my store B in North region has inventory, and even my store C in South region has inventory. So now you wanted to do a transfer of inventory because you wanted to fulfill from store A. So as a customer, I say I wanted to pick it up from store. I'm placing an order for store A because that is near to my home location. I can go on Sunday and pick up my product. But you don't have inventory in store A, but you don't want to lose the sale. So what you will do? You will check the inventory in store B, right? So you say, okay, we have inventory in store B, but you will also check the inventory in store C in the South region also, because when you do inventory checking OMS, it will give you all the stores. But you will then come to this configuration whether these relationships are maintained between these stores. So store A might have a relationship to receive the products from store B, but from store C of South region, it doesn't have a relationship because you don't want to do a transfer from a South region to a North region to fulfill a customer, right? You will either say, this is more costly to me, correct? So it's better I lose the sale over there, or I ask the customer that rather than picking it from next day, you come on Monday to pick up the product because I have an ETA of 2 days rather than 1 day on store A, because you are transferring it from store B of the same region and it might take 1 day. But doing it from store C from South region becomes very tricky, right? Because you have to pay the extended shipment cost first to get the product into store A, and it might have other legal things, right? Because you are talking about two different regions within a same country, so different states might come into picture, the state taxes and everything will come into picture. So a lot of things will happen, right? So this configuration comes handy when you talked about relationship between nodes. And why I talked about transfer orders here, because this is more related to transfers. So you cannot, you can have multiple stores in a system, but you might not have relationship between them, even though they are in same region, because you don't want to maintain transfers between them. So this is how it comes handy.
So this
Other
also sorry to interrupt. So this one also relates to the Middle East case scenario that you mentioned, that the conlock location, that you need to configure the node relationship in order
right.
to implement that conlock, right?
Correct. Right. Nice catch, Duncan. So this is a very basic requirement if you want to build the conlock implementation.
Got it.
Until without this in OMS, you cannot build a solution which I talked about of conlock.
Okay.
Yeah. So whenever you talk about transfers, this configuration will definitely come.
Okay.
Okay. Then moving it to next, fundamental attributes. So fundamental attributes, there are many fundamental attributes that you can see as on my screen. And like there are some advanced attributes where you say inventory information is available, or this organization is inventory organization, or if not, you wanted to maintain inventory outside of your OMS, so you take this flag and then you say inventory organization is this. I mean, uh, so these are very important configuration, because here you define, let's say if you're placing an order to Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, right? And you wanted to know, okay, who is my, is this my inventory organization or not? So I say, um, no, my inventory organization is not this, because my inventory organization is the different sales organization that I have, right? So because you cannot maintain inventory of your different businesses as a sales organization in a single entity, let's say Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, right? So what do you want to maintain is, you create a Ralph Lauren Hong Kong enterprise, you have child organization as a sales organization, as a Ralph Lauren food and beverage, Ralph Lauren apparel, Ralph Lauren footwear, right? And obviously, why you will maintain inventory at a Ralph Lauren Hong Kong level? Because you don't want to show the inventory of your beverage items on the footwear side, correct? So
Mhm.
your inventory organization will be confined to which, so you can choose when you are creating an organization, let's say Ralph Lauren food and beverage, that whether this is inventory org. Yes, this is inventory org, because it is confined to only my food and beverage inventory. So I have to take this mark. Or let's say within food and beverages you have multiple organizations, right? You must, maybe one restaurant organization, one coffee organization, one snacks, or one 9 to 11 stores, right? So all, so maybe in that also you have a segregation, right? That I don't want to maintain the inventory of my restaurant over my coffee shop, right? So it can go deeper and deeper. That's what I'm trying to say. So you can have a nested set of organization, and you have to maintain inventory organization usually at a local level, which I have seen.
Do you have any experience as company actually doing in an opposite way? Try
Yes,
to group
yes.
all the inventory in one single inventory file and then share among all different channels.
Yes, I do have experience. I give an example of, let's say, I don't know if you've heard this client. It's not a very big client, but Dick Pharma. It's a pharmacy client in South America. That is
Mm-hmm.
okay. So they have different uh, uh, as it's a pharmacy business, right? So they have some stores totally as a pharmacy products, right? So usually when you go to a pharmacy store, you also find beauty products, right, over there, correct? So now in that pharmacy stores, they have beauty products, but they also have some stores which are only confined to the beauty products. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what they have done over there is, they have maintained the inventory at a parent level rather than maintaining at a uh, sub level, I mean, or on a deeper level, because they don't want to lose the sale. And it doesn't matter to them, even if an inventory product, even if a beauty product is there, if they have inventory in a pharmacy store, they will fulfill it, because at the end of the day they want sales, right? So what they've done is, they have maintained the inventory at a parent level, so that when the customer sees on the screen, even though the beauty store doesn't have inventory for, let's say, any of your beauty product, right? But they can see the inventory in the pharmacy product, so they can place an order from that particular store. So that's how, I think, that example fits what you were trying to ask, right? So we have done
Mm.
the implementation over there, and this is how a very real time example I can relate to. Even a lot of other organizations also, but this is something which very first come to my mind, because they have a very different kind of structure when I worked over there. So uh, generally, it's at a local level. I have seen in many retailers so far. I mean, if I say I worked on 10 retailers, out of that, 6 or 7 have maintained at a local level. Not even at a very local level, I would say, but at least on a, not on a very parent level also. I mean, generally, let's say, uh, your sales organization level, they have maintained. And you know what? One more thing, your inventory also go in parallel to your catalog, right?
Right, right.
So, so you cannot have an inventory. Generally, I have seen, you cannot have an inventory on a higher above your catalog. So usually, your catalog, I mean, the best practice that I have seen, and I have seen those solution have worked very fine in my knowledge, is when you keep your inventory and catalog organization hand to hand. So whatever is your whichever is a catalog organization you maintain, if that catalogation is an inventory organization, that is an ideal case. But every business doesn't work like that. As you also said, right, that you have different kind of beverages systems, sorry, businesses in within your entity, so you cannot maintain that. So generally your catalog should be at a one level prior to the inventory, or should be at the same level. You cannot have inventory at a higher level and then have a catalog at a lower level.
Got it.
It's very tricky. I realize this. We did it for one of the retailer, and we end up facing issues uh, in fulfilling orders. We were not able to. Sterling was behaving in a very different way. So when we talked with IBM on that case, they recommended it that you should not do it. But as we have done it now, we can still resolve it through some customizations. We can do it. I mean, we did it, but why to do customization when you are getting everything as a out of the box? So this is a learning, I would say. So usually catalog should be at a one level higher or at a same level with inventory.
Okay.
Then we have some installation rules. So you can define some rules over here, that whether you wanted to have inventory consolidation level at a hub level and enterprise, a capacity consolidation levels, or an hub on an enterprise. So these are I mean, I'm not much use it, but just to help you out over here is usually we keep everything at an hub level. These configurations are not very much required. Also catalog model, these are old configuration actually. Nowadays they doesn't come over here. Everything is captured over here itself. Then okay, we are moving towards inventory rules. So, so what are inventory rules? Uh, Inventory rules are, as I talked about, right? This. So these are nothing but your inventory rules only. So it helps you to understand what is your inventory consolidation model. Either it's an hub level or a group or a enterprise level. Decides inventory organization. So you decide who is your inventory organization over here. Then decide who belongs to which inventory organization. So for, let's say, if you have inventory organization at a parent level, so every organization can choose this organization inventory organization, and you can, or maybe you can put this as a tick mark. Okay, this is my inventory organization. So let's say for a single apparel business of Ralph Lauren, you might have different sales organization, but you wanted to maintain inventory at a Ralph Lauren apparel level. So what you will do, you will maintain Ralph Lauren apparel as a single inventory organization for all the other sub organization. So you decide who belongs to which inventory organization, decides what inventory organization is, and decide inventory consolidation model. Then we have considerations like catalog management, which organ need to share the same catalog. So here, when you click on this, I don't have the screenshot over of this over here. I'll just add it. So when you decide on a catalog, maybe you will be able to see in the catalog management section, which I'll take today only. So on the catalog section, you will see that which organization need to share the same catalog. As inventory, you will see an option over here also. Now you will also see inventory needs to be tracked for which location. So you can always choose whether you want to track your inventory or not, right? So sometimes you maintain infinite inventory for some of the locations, right? You don't want to track inventory. So you just want, okay, I want to take an order irrespective of I have inventory or not. I know somehow I will fulfill it. So you maybe some of the nodes or some of the warehouses you wanted to maintain as infinite inventory, because at end of the day you don't want to lose the sale. You know there might be some delays, there might be some extended delivery dates, but I will fulfill that location order. Then is inventory segregation required across organization? So this attribute helps you to understand whether your segregation is required across organization. So whether you want inventory to be segregated for some of the stores or for some of the organizations, for let's say for an example, right? uh, I talk about an example of South America pharmacy store, right? So maybe I wanted to do some segregation over there. So from segregation, what I mean, let's say I have beauty products in my pharmacy organization. I have beauty products in beauty stores. So as a business group, I don't want my uh, beauty customers to to face issues to fulfill or experience their products from beauty stores. The reason being, there is a very hand-to-hand chance that a pharmacy client of mine will also place a beauty product sometime to avoid delivery costs, because sometimes the delivery costs are like, if you place an order above $200 you will get a free delivery, right? Something like that. So sometimes I have to segregate my inventory. I don't want all my beauty orders are coming on a pharmacy site, right? I also want people to experience my beauty stores or beauty websites, because I want both my business to grow. So what I do, I can do a segregation at each organization. I say only 70% of the inventory can be used, only 30% of the inventory can be used at my pharmacy level. You're getting my point, right?
Hmm. Right.
So this how you do your inventory segregation, so that you want to grow both your business, right? You don't want to end up uh, wrap up your beauty chain just because you were getting orders from your pharmacy site because of the delivery and every added cost. So you want to maintain a segregation. So if you want, sales is important, but with that, brand is also important, right? You're selling your beauty products because you have a brand called under your name. If tomorrow that brand itself the stores of that brand itself is not there, then even maybe you will start losing sales at your pharmacy stores for that brand. So that's why inventory segregation is important. Then we have visibility. What kind of visibility is required with respect to inventory catalog? So uh, uh, basically, how you wanted to make your inventory to be visible. Either you wanted to maintain inventory at a catalog level, or a one level below. Maybe your catalog is a generic catalog, or you cannot maintain inventory at a single at a same catalog level, because under your catalog you have all the items. So you don't want your every organization to look up inventory of all of your catalog, right? So you want to only confine your inventory to a inventory of, so that only those inventory items products are visible to customers. So these are very important rules. These are very small rules when you start configuring. I should say, you should read about it. You should know about it. These can be done in OMS. Um, as you don't have to do everything from scratch in Ralph Lauren as of now. So these are not very important to you guys, but knowing this, understanding this, and knowing the capability of this is very important. All inventory data is consolidated and visible at hub level. So as I said, right, maybe if you have chosen hub as an your organization and inventory control, so everything will be visible at a hub level itself. But generally we don't do at a hub level. uh, Earlier we used to do, but nowadays we do at an enterprise level, because every retailer nowadays is doing not a single business. They are doing multiple business, like apparel, footwear, as you said, Duncan, right? Ralph Lauren. Earlier they might have started only with apparel, right? But they might have ended up doing multiple business nowadays.
Right.
So usually it's an enterprise level nowadays. So hub level inventory consolidation I have not seen. So whenever you wanted to check any inventory consolidation, you go to the Sterling console, you select the inventory organization and uh, the enterprise basically, and you will be able to see the inventory items of all those of that enterprise.
If I have the, for example, if I have a case that for day one, I select the inventory is based on the sales organization level for a particular node, and then day two, I regret, I would like to actually expose more inventory availability to that particular store. So I am able to just apply the new change and that's it, right? The change
Yes.
will actually effective once I apply.
So I tell you, there are bit repercussions of this. So let's say on day one, you apply the change, but maybe some of your order transactions have been generated and they have used the data and they have some persisted data in your database based on the earlier configurations, right?
Mm.
And now on day two, you change your configuration to a some different level of levels, right? Let's say enterprise or something. So whatever your orders that have come on day one, they might start giving you error out in your system for further processing in OMS. The reason being you have changed the basic rules itself
Mm.
of your organization. So IBM itself doesn't recommend to change your participant setup in mid of a project. I mean, until unless you're not live, you can do any change because all your system, all your environments are lower environments, right? They are not production environments. So you can anytime just rid of your data and start producing new data, right? But once you go live, right, you cannot change it. The reason being, you're going live uh, after you have done all your extended testing and everything,
Right.
right? And you know that this is how your business wants to work. So you don't go because Sterling is a monolithic application, right? So it's not a microservice. It's a monolithic application. You cannot do the first release of your OMS in let's say in an agile way. So your first release will always be a waterfall model that you decide that you will first set up one order management system for a single organization, single entity of your of Ralph Lauren, and you go live within let's say 3 to 4 months. Once you go live with a basic structure and basic model, then you can come to an agile model where you can say, now going further, I will be doing enhancements on my production system, and I will be building lot of other features on top of it now. But as a whole, you cannot go live in OMS in a 2 weeks of sprint, right? Your first release will be minimum of 3 to 4 months or 5 months,
Right.
and that's why to answer your question, it's not recommended. You should not change participant setup kind of configuration at a later stage.
Okay. So I
Yes.
think the right way is trying to build a new node with new configuration. Just but and then we have a cutover
Yeah.
to shut down the old node after clearing all the fulfillment requirement, and then we just activate a new one, something like that, right?
Correct. So usually, I tell you from my experience, for I have done participant setup design for 2 or 3 clients in my whole experience journey in OMS. So uh, when I did it for my first client, right, uh, I learned a lot of things at that time. So you can understand, right? This is just a playground for you, right? You have to understand the business entities of your business of that particular client, and then you have to relate it to the techno terms of OMS, right? So it's a playground for you. You start configuring it in a local system, and then you start doing it POCs, you start creating orders, and then you understand, okay, this cannot be achieved. I can like the case of Pharma I talked about, right? They wanted to share the inventory of their pharmacy and the beauty store because the customer can place. So it's an added requirement, right? So when you talk about participant setup, your business guy should be equipped enough that he can explain you all your business scenarios, right? Then only you can frame a participant modeling in your OMS on a very good basis. We have faced challenges that we have set up the participant setup, but later the business guys has come to us and they say this is also a use case. Okay, but we cannot say to the client, right, like why you're coming now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have to, I mean, obviously those discussion happens, but somehow we have to handle it, right, to keep the business running. So we end up creating another kind of setup within the same hub rule and all that, just to leverage their that requirement. But this is not maintainable, right, until unless uh, you miss very base. So that's why we say, right, business guys are very important because they have to tell you all the scenarios. Otherwise, you can end up messing with the configurations.
Right.
Okay. Okay. Coming to this, these are just the screenshots of your order page. And here you can see that you get to, I mean, you can see a lot of configuration which we talked about. We will come to here once we have a once we, I mean, these slides are more useful when we start looking at the screens in the real time. So I will talk about all these things, scheduling rules, everything over there. But scheduling rule is nothing but it's related to sourcing. So just for you, Noel, as you are very excited to learn about sourcing and scheduling. So scheduling rule are nothing but sourcing and scheduling are two different things, right? So sourcing helps you to understand from which location you have to fulfill, or maybe the probable locations you can fulfill. And scheduling is a rule. Scheduling is a part of sourcing and scheduling where you decide, okay, I'm choosing this sourcing location because I have set up some scheduling rules. Based on that, I can go for this location. Giving an example, right? Uh, let's say you ordered 4 units of an item. Okay, let's say you order 4 units of a trouser.
Mhm.
Now you have 2 inventory in store A and 4 inventory in store B. Okay, so now in your scheduling rules there is a configuration whether you wanted to give preference to number of shipments or you wanted to give preference to distance, right? So how it is achieved, right? Let's say store A is near to my home location. Sorry, store B is near to my home location. So what I can do, store B has 4 inventory of that product and you have ordered 4. So I can direct, and in your scheduling rules, you have given preference to distance. So everything goes hand by hand. You will store B for the fulfillment location, correct? But let's say you have given preference to not distance, but to number of shipments. Okay. And your store A also has inventory. So now in this case, you have two options. Either you go to store A for 2 units and store B to 2 units, right? And you can fulfill two different shipments. Or you can directly go to store B and select the 4 units from there. So you understand, right? So based
Yep.
on a scheduling rule, you can you can decide from a probable options of fulfilling which sourcing API of OMS provides you. So basically, when you run this, so when you run the scheduling process in OMS, it invokes two APIs. First, it invokes the sourcing API, which gets you all the possible sourcing location. And then you run the scheduling API to decide on which is the best option for you based on your scheduling rules.
Yep.
So this is
Great.
how sourcing and scheduling works. And sourcing and scheduling is the heartbeat of OMS. I mean, the way they have built is um, it's very tough to build in today's system. Even today's systems are not able to achieve this. Sourcing and scheduling is the backbone of selling OMS.
Okay.
Okay, implication. Yes, there are few implication which is like each item must be referenced by a unique ID, you know, right? So every item has a unique item ID or EN number related to it, right?
Mhm.
Visibility, potential for all enterprise to have visibility of each other inventory. So generally, when you why this line comes into picture is basically uh, you generally wants, like I gave an example, right, that pharmacy stores and beauty stores. So generally it's always good in a business that you wanted to have a visibility of each other enterprises on every enterprise. It helps you to at least do the sale for the common products. So generally the visibility should be there. This is something we should recommend. Control, hub controls all inventory configuration. Generally the hub controls all the inventory, but nowadays this rule is kind of changing. It is coming to enterprise level now because of a single Earlier the businesses were confined to their expertise, right? So Ralph Lauren were experts in fashion and designing, right? So they were not much into, let's say, coffee business or beverages. I mean, I'm just giving an example. So let's say talk about Adidas, right? So nowadays Adidas has also come into a lot of other businesses also within their sports brand. So earlier they were confined to only shoes, right? Shoes was the basic business, right, that they started with. So so generally now everything is coming to enterprise. So I somehow contradict with this rule now. Earlier when we used to talk about its hub, but generally it's an enterprise control inventory organizations. Availability can be shared across all enterprise. Definitely availability of an item can be shared across my pharmacy and beauty organization, because it helps me to sell more and provide more options to the customers. So these are enterprise level consolidations when you decide to maintain inventory organization and enterprise level. So what you do in this case, if you want to see inventory details of all the items, you select inventory organization in your sourcing in your OMS console, and you get all the items over there. So inventory information is available over here. You can, if you make an enterprise and inventory organization, so you select this option, right? That this enterprise and inventory organization. By default in enterprise consolidation is up to the primary enterprise defined in the partition modeling, but it can be overridden over here. So generally your inventory organization can be override by this configuration. I think I've already talked about this, that either you can have that same enterprise and inventory organization, or you can have inventory organization at a different entity altogether. And you also have an option of inventory information is not available, so where it is valid. So let's talk about carrier, right? Carrier doesn't have any inventory data, so you choose this option, correct? So carrier organizations are not to maintain an inventory, so they maintain over, so you can choose those options. Enterprise level consolidation. So in enterprise level consolidation, uh, I think I have already talked about all these things. So you maintain inventory is available on that enterprise, and then that enterprise can have three different organizations, and you can also say that inventory auction is maintained at this particular organization. So for example, as an as your Ralph Lauren apparel business, you choose that inventory automation is available, but maybe that under Ralph Lauren apparel you might have three different organizations. You say inventory automation is available, but who maintains the inventory organization? That is Ralph Lauren apparel. So maybe you have three different sales organizations: Ralph Lauren.com, Ralph Lauren Amazon, everything, but you want that inventory information should be looked upon at Ralph Lauren apparel level. So you say on every organization, ralphlauren.com inventory information available, but who is inventory organization? Ralph Lauren apparel. So that's why this term, right, when you talked about, by default inventory consolidation is up to the primary enterprise, right? You remember in the very start I talked about primary enterprise. So invent Ralph Lauren Apparel.com have a primary enterprise as Ralph Lauren Apparel. Ralph Lauren Apparel web app ha has a primary enterprise and Ralph Lauren Apparel. And they both share the inventory of Ralph Lauren Apparel, because they both are just different channels for you, but they are configured as different organizations in your system, right? But their inventory org is same. That is a primary organization, that is Ralph Lauren Apparel. So that is the enterprise level consolidation. Okay, difference. So hub level consolidation is nothing but your enterprises having different organization, and they keep looking to your enterprise as a single organization, or maybe at a hub level. Generally, I mean, in enterprise level, so this is your hub is a single entity which controls your enterprise one, enterprise two, and then you have an enterprise one, let's say Ralph Lauren apparel. This is Ralph Lauren, let's say food and beverages. So we have an organization over here, let's say Ralph Lauren.com, Ralph Lauren web app, Ralph Lauren Amazon, right? Let's say over here. And now what you want to do, you wanted to have your .com side of Ralph Lauren having your Ralph Lauren apparel.com having inventory from enterprise one, that is Ralph Lauren apparel. Similarly, Ralph Lauren web app, apparel web app, you will be maintaining enterprise one as your inventory org, right? Inventory relationship. And you also have Ralph Lauren, I mean, Amazon as a marketplace for you. Let's say Ralph Lauren Amazon, right? So maybe this also will look inventory for apparel from enterprise one. You have an hub as a parent. Now you have an enterprise through Ralph Lauren Food and Beverages. So it's Ralph Lauren Food and Beverages.com, Ralph Lauren Food and Beverages web app. So they will have food and beverages inventory from Ralph Lauren Food and Beverages. Okay. But Ralph Lauren Amazon might have apparel and food and beverages also. You're getting my point, right? So they might maintain inventory from both. You got it, right?
Right.
So this arrow is wrong over here. This is a red arrow, basically. I my mistake. It's green, so it's a red arrow. So basically, your organization 5 might have this organization 5 is nothing but maybe a standalone Amazon or marketplace organization which you have configured in OMS, but it might can have businesses from both your enterprises, right? So it maintains inventory from both food and beverages and both from this.
I just want to share something with you because Noel also needs to come back in 2 minutes' time. Regarding the con notation, I also had the experience previously in Kering. Kering is also managing multiple brands like Gucci, YSL, Bottega Veneta, selling luxury handbags. In Japan business, they also have a special requirement because of special events and promotion. For example, if some people try to purchase from the e-com website, and for that particular event or promotion, they would not like to ship via multiple shipments. They would like all grouping everything into one single shipment because of, for example, Christmas events. They don't want to ship the item after Christmas, right? So that's why they have those kind of special treatment as well, based on events. And also, I think Japan or other regions having special requirement. People tends to prefer receiving the orders in one go because they need to stay at home. For example, they do not want to receive the item because during the business hours they are not at home, something like that. So they would have a preferred receiving date of the item in one go as well. So I think in Japan, I faced quite a lot of those kinds of requirement, and that's why we were not using the IBM Sterling at that moment of time. We were using the Manhattan OMS. We try to manage that based on the SFCC configuration and also the OMS settings as well.
Okay.
Yeah, similar to the conlock concept.
Yeah. Conlock. I mean, if you ask me, I have not because I worked mainly with US, South Korean, and Indian clients, and European also, like Germany, Adidas. I have worked with, but they were very flexible in terms of split shipments and all. But I recently was working with one Middle East client, and there I heard this requirement. I mean, to me it looks very outdated because generally it's a world of fast shipments right nowadays. So people don't want to wait, definitely, but people also don't want to wait for if an item can reach to you in a single day, but just because of conlock you're doing it in a 5 days of shipment. I think it's also an unnecessary lose of sale or an experience for a customer, right? So but it goes trade-off. It's a trade-off. It's all based on customer mentality in that region, like how the customers is more preferable. Like in India, I tell you an example that I also like to receive everything in a single go. The reason is in India, the logistics are a bit tough to communicate. I mean, in terms of whenever you have to talk to a delivery person, see if you have ordered 10 items in an order and you're getting 10 deliveries, you will be getting calls for every 10 deliveries, right? So those are again annoying. So I would say that I want everything in a single go. it's okay. Even if you take 2 days extra, until unless I'm not in a hurry. If I'm in a hurry, I will definitely go for ready for customer pickup or something, go in a store or walk in into a store. But if I'm on ordering online, I know that 90% of chances I'm ordering it for my pleasure or I mean just for my needs, for my luxury. So I would prefer everything in a single go rather than having in 10 different shipments.
Yep. Okay, we can start now. Noel is back.
Yeah. Coming to the next section is catalog consolidation. Okay, so we have screenshots over here. So we talked about inventory. Now we'll talk about catalog. So catalog also we can define, we can choose whether this is your own catalog organization or whether it is defined by some others. So any organization can take up this role. The catalog organization needs to be at the same level as the inventory organization or above. I told you right this point. So catalogation cannot be below inventory organization. You cannot have catalog below and inventory above, right? Because inventory is a subset of your catalog, correct? You can have vast catalog, but you may not have all the items as inventory items now. Uh, Giving an example, right? So you maintain your catalog, right? You have a winter catalog, you have a summer catalog, you have a autumn catalog, right? All the seasons, mainly in apparel, right? So maybe you keep catalog throughout the year, but you might not have inventory throughout the year for winter clothes in summer, right? But they must be in your catalog because you know that at end of the summer season when the winter will start, you will bring up that, right?
Right.
So this is the reason, and it's easy to manage in OMS also. Setting up the catalogation at a higher level causes lesser setup and facilitates the sharing of common definition, as I said.
Mm-hmm.
Catalog organization can maintain item definition and classification. That's obvious. Uh, Usually, whichever is the catalog organization, it will maintain all your item definitions and classification. All your items in OMS will be configured at catalog level, and all your classifications are nothing but I'll talk about in the catalog organization. So it's another entity of your catalog only or item only, which will be go hand to hand in catalog organization. So when you talk about catalog, you talk about items. Items are nothing but different kind of products in your system. So in OMS terms, we usually talk on a term of item because all the APIs are based on item APIs and all that. So they are all confined to catalog organization mostly. All related organization retrieve information, item information from catalog organization for transaction. That's correct. So in case if I have to capture any item level data. So I give you an example on this. Uh, you configure catalog. Catalog is nothing but it contains all your items, item IDs, queues, everything. Now those item IDs have some other set of data also. For an example, I give you. Every item, let's say it has its own uh, properties. Let's say I have an item. I just give you one very basic example. An item is a fragile item. Let's say a glass item or any fragile item, right? So you maintain a flag on that item configuration that this is a fragile item. And where it will be used later, it will be used at the time of shipments. So at the time of shipments, you will do a check whether this is a fragile item. If it's a fragile item, you have to pack it in a maybe in a more important way, right? Let's say you have to bubble wrap it, you have to put thermocol around it, you have to put cotton around it, something you have to do. You're getting my point, right? So all your item data is maintained at a catalog organization because your items itself are maintained at catalog organization. You got it?
Yep.
Right? And this information is very much required at different level of your order transactions because you need to retrieve this information.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then catalog organization level at which item master is defined, typically done at company level to facilitate sharing or common definitions. Obviously, Ralph Lauren Apparel is a company, right? So you will usually maintain your apparel catalog at a Ralph Lauren Apparel organization level, even though you might have 5 different entities below it, but your catalog should be at an apparel level company. Allows organization to share common item definition without having to create own separate definition, which is also true, right? You have a .com site, you have a web app, right, for apparel. You don't want to maintain catalog at their level, right? Basically what you're doing, you have a same t-shirt which you're selling on .com and at a web app. You don't want to maintain your configuration and to duplicate your configurations, right? It's better to maintain an apparel level rather than apparel level, because you can inherit it from there, correct?
Right.
More than one master catalogs can be defined. Even though multiple master catalog can exist, an item can only be defined in a single catalog. So you can define multiple catalogs, and you can also define multiple master catalogs, right, on the organization level. But if in an item, it can only belong to a single master catalog. So you, giving an example, you define a catalog, let's say at Alpha and Hong Kong level. Now in that catalog, you have two master catalog, right? One, let's say for apparel, and one, let's say for footwear. Okay. Now you have an item, let's say socks, right? Which can either go in your footwear also, or which can even go to your apparel also, correct?
Right.
Right. But it's always recommended to maintain that at a single catalog. So you don't want to maintain the same item with the same ID in both the catalog. The reason being, it will add conflict to you. So it's always better either you maintain it at a footwear level, because as an entity you wanted to sell it at a footwear level, but you also, if you also wanted to sell at a apparel level, you might create a different SKU ID or an item for it, because you don't want to mix up over there.
Right.
Each master catalog defines a product line in most scenarios. Definitely, product line is nothing but you define the kind of product you are dealing with in that master catalog. So let's say in apparel catalog, you will not define a food and beverages item, right? So you don't define a product line as food over there, or product line as beverage, or something eatables or something like that. So your product line should be in accordance with your master catalog. So if you have an apparel catalog, your product line should be either clothing, something like that. For organizations with divisions based on product, master catalog could represent a subdivision. Uh, so there are many organizations which have division based on products. As I gave an example, apparel, footwear, food and beverage. Master catalog could represent a subdivision. So master catalog could represent a subdivision means a master catalog can have subdivisions, and you can basically consider those subdivisions as a master catalog, and you can use them. So you can still maintain a single catalog at a company level, a master catalog, and you can have a sub catalog, let's say apparel, food and beverages, uh, footwear, and you can use it across different organizations. Every organization can define its own catalog or has a reference to catalog of another organization. So giving you an example, right? Uh, let's say I talk about the pharmacy client. So pharmacy client, I have a pharmacy products and I have beauty products, and they belong to a single entity that's, let's call ABC company. Now that ABC company has a catalog, okay, but my pharmacy organization has one obligation. What obligation they have? Pharmacy products are, I mean, the medicinal products are legal products, right? Government controls them, correct? So you cannot maintain the catalog of that at a parent level, because from that parent, even the beauty products are inheriting the catalog, correct?
Right.
So as a legal obligation in my country, I don't want to make my catalog or my medicinal products to my beauty organization, because they should not look it upon that. And you cannot sell pharmacy products in a beauty store, correct?
Right.
So to to achieve this kind of requirement, what you will do? You will go to your pharmacy organization and you will maintain a local catalog or pharmacy over there, and that becomes your catalog organization for pharmacy products. But still, you can look upon another organization catalog, and you can get the beauty products from it. So even a single organization can look upon multiple catalogs and they can inherit from them.
Okay.
You got the point, right?
Yes.
That why this is important. Though
Mhm.
I could have maintained everything at a parent level, but because of my legal issues in the country, I cannot show my medical products to the beauty organization. So I have to maintain a local copy of both beauty plus the only copy of pharmacy in my pharmacy organization. So that's how I have to do.
Right.
Capacity consolidation. A capacity organization represent an organization level in the organization hierarchy at which all capacity information consolidated. So you can define. So this is mainly maintained for your stores and warehouses enterprises, right? So only stores do have inventory. So when you create any node organization as a store, there you maintain that this is my capacity organization. So a capacity organization provide any of the following function: define services slots for order promising function. So you can define service slots. Okay, these are the slots where I'm operational. Capacity separation: all organizations that are part of the same capacity organization have visibility to the capacity of all resources that are part of the capacity organization. So you can define, I mean, it just go hand by hand. So whatever configuration related to capacity, we will go over there. A capacity organization creates a separate silo of capacity definition in the system. The silo cannot be accessed by organization belonging to a different silo and thus provide a complete segregation of capacity. So basically, you don't want to show the capacity of one single entity to another entity. So you can maintain a silo of your capacity definition, and those will not be accessed by other organizations. So you can maintain that privacy. You don't want to disclose the timings of your store to another store. Or for example, let's say you have your own stores and then you have your franchisee stores, right? And you don't want to share those capacity details between them because your own stores are your own managed operations, but your franchisee stores are something which are managed by some other organization.
Right.
Capacity consolidation, resource pool. Resource pools are very much important when you talk about capacity. So in OMS, we talked about resource pool when we talked about capacity. So resource pool is nothing. It's a sub entity of a capacity which helps you to define time slots and service providers. So let's say you have an hub, you have a capacity organization one, and then you have a resource pool. And both these enterprises under that is looking at the capacity organization, basically. So let's say, giving an example, mm, uh, you have an enterprise apparel, or in terms of how can I relate you this? Okay, yeah, in terms of, see, you can have multiple resource pool first of all at a capacity organization. So let's say you have a resource pool where you define your service providers and time slots, and you define a resource pool of winter, a resource pool of summer. Okay, because in summers the days are usually shorter, so sorry, in summer the days are usually longer, so you might have extended time slots. But in your winter, the resource pool, your days are very short, and you don't, maybe you closing up at 5 p.m. itself rather than closing at 8 p.m. So your resource pool differs. So you can define different resource pools, categorize even at a capacity organization, so you can maintain different kind of configuration. You don't have to go every season into a system and change it. By default, you define a particular period of a resource pool and say once this organization lands into that particular time, this resource pool will start coming into picture. You're getting my point, right? What I'm
Yeah.
trying to. And then you have multiple enterprises which might look upon your capacity organization and they will inherit everything from that. So maybe you maintain every capacity details even at a single organization, let's say at Ralph Lauren Apparel, and all your other enterprises, Ralph Lauren.com apparel, everything, even all the stores below your Ralph Lauren Apparel will start looking in from that particular capacity organization. Or you can maintain at a local level. Let's say every node wants to maintain their own capacity, so you can also maintain it over there.
Okay.
Okay. Customer consolidation. This is not very important. Like customer defines its own customers. This is not being used in OMS because generally all these customers and pricing, even pricing, they're not handled in OMS. Payments is handled in OMS, but not pricing. Because pricing usually happens at your website level, right? SFCC level, Duncan, as
Right.
because pricing and customers are very dynamic things, right? They keep on changing day to
Yep.
day. So this is how, and OMS is a backend application. So you generally don't maintain those information in your OMS database. But yes, OMS does provide this, because if you don't want to maintain at your front end level, front end database or any of the front end systems, you can maintain it at OMS levels. But I have never seen any retailer using this, not even a single retailer in almost 14 to 15 retailers I have worked upon.
Yeah.
So this is an example I think we already talked about. So you can go through this presentation. I mean, this will give you an idea how they have maintained as an example. This is an example number 2. They have changed some sourcing locations, and they have. I mean, you can read upon this. Once you will read, you will get an idea how they are differentiating it. If you want, I can go through it, or if you want to take it up at your personal level, you can take it, and I
No,
can
we
start.
can just take it offline. Yeah, I think we try to also map the concept to our existing environment as well. Because just now I also thought about, you mentioned about summer, winter time, and then I also figured that out. We have Australia business as well, and
Yeah.
they are selling spring and summer clothes now. And this also let me consider about the inventory or the catalog levels that may have different configurations for Australia. But I don't know. Yeah, that's actually a very good insight to us as well.
Yeah. So this is all about participant. So I think we still have time. I will share this slide right away, right after this session. Okay. You can start going through it, and even any of the earlier slides, I will ask Abhishek to share with you. So the next section, you can see my screen, right? That's
Yep.
catalog. So catalog management. So generally, we talked about catalog in the participant setup, but that was very limited. We will go into much detail of what is catalog management in OMS. Generally speaking, in OMS, we don't maintain very dynamic catalogs. What do I mean with that, right? So if you worked on the front customer facing applications, right, like SFCC is there, and then you also might have worked on ATG commerce, I don't know, and there are many custom build application also. There is nowadays SAP Hybris is also there, right? So so there are a lot of applications on a front customer facing application where you work very extensively on catalog management. Okay, but there is some part of it, and why do you have it at that level? Because your catalogs are very dynamic. Even on a daily basis, your catalog changes, right? Your pricing changes, your catalog changes. uh, Maybe today what product I'm looking on a website of Ralph Lauren, maybe tomorrow I might not see them. I might see some different items, because catalogs are very dynamic. Now there is very small part of it which we do in OMS also. So generally catalog is not a very extensive area of OMS, but it's a very important tool. So generally in OMS, we maintain catalogs. We maintain our own catalogs where we capture all our items, as I said in the previous. So all our item feed, which you are selling on the website, that comes to OMS by your item master system or whatever is your SIM system or whatever system that you are having, right? That system will send us a feed to us for all the items. We create those items under a catalog and we assign those catalog to the enterprises where we are doing the business in OMS. So this is how the catalog comes into picture. This Okay, so the below presentation will describe few features. One is how you can create item manually in your application manager console, which is not a good option in production. This is just to give you a glimpse of how you can create an item manually. Introduction to catalogs, deliveries provided and value-added services. So what are items? Items are products and their attributes, right? So you have an item, let's say a t-shirt, it has an item ID, it has a SKU, and it has its own attributes to it related to it, right? Maybe this item is not shippable, this item is not ready for, or maybe this item is not this item cannot be picked by customer. That flag, right, you can maintain. So let's say you order one furniture item, obviously that item cannot be picked, right? A customer cannot come and pick a sofa in your store, correct? So, or maybe an item is not international shippable. So let's say if you're dealing in Ralph Lauren Hong Kong and I wanted to order something from Ralph Lauren Hong Kong, but you cannot ship some items to outside of your Hong Kong, right? Some of the international borders have issues and all that stuff. And many more. There are many like level of service. So this item cannot be shippable on a express delivery. This can only be shippable on a standard delivery. Or is it a bundle item? Whether this item is a bundle item, for example, if I order a TV and there is a remote associated with it, right? And remote has its own separate entity as as an item ID. So remote and TV go hand by hand, right? So it's a bundle item. If you order a TV, by default you will get a remote, or maybe by default you will get a USB cable, or by default you may also get a router with it, right? Something like that. So so all those things comes handy with the item configuration. So whenever you configure item, there are chunks of attributes you can create. I will walk you through when you will start going through the API level details, like how many attributes OMS out of the box provided. On top of that, you can also add your extended attributes if you want to. Then we have catalogs, hierarchy of items, obviously organized into group of different purposes: master catalog, selling catalog, active selling catalog. So as Duncan, you said, right? So you can have different catalogs categorized. So maybe you have a selling catalog as both summers and winter, but your only active selling catalog because you're selling in winters is winter only, right? It's owned by an organization. Obviously catalogs are owned by a single organization. Category, so you can define different categories of items, grouping of items. So let's say you want to categorize all your apparel items under a apparel category, all your electronics items, phones, TVs under a electronics category. And you can also have subcategories between them. So under electronics you can have TVs, televisions, you can have mobile phones, you can have routers, you can have monitors. So a lot of things are there, right? So categories are also kind of a trees kind of structure. You can have subcategories too. Catalog management. Generally, catalog management can be handled within OMS. So there is a catalog management section. As we go to application platform from participant modeling, you go to catalog management for catalog. So here you can see all item statuses, products, you can see items, node item attributes, categories you can define. You can define provided services, delivery services, value added services. So for example, uh, kitting services. So for example, you wanted to kit some items together. So let's say you wanted to order some gift items, return gift items for your kid's birthday, right? and you want to kit them out. So let's say you wanted to kit those items, so you can ask them for a kitting services. Let's say you take one some games and you then make a kit of them, and then you ship it to us so that we can directly give it to the friends. So it's like that. So there are multiple things you can do within OMS. Some of them even I have not done it in my history, but it is there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Create an item. So it's an easy, under a product section, you can go and you can click on this button. Plus button is usually in OMS to create something new. Okay. So this icon basically helps you to understand that you can create something new. You can give an item ID. You can give unit of measure. So what are unit of measure? Unit of measure is nothing but how you quantify that item, right? So let's say if you want to, usually in OMS we quantify at a unit level. So, and the unit level is each level. Basically, each means 1 unit. So one t-shirt, 1 unit. So when you say item ID t-shirt 1, or some SKU, some number, let's say 123 t-shirt 1, and UOM means unit of measure is each. So it is categorized as single units, one piece at a time. Okay. Short description, if you want to tag it to any catalog that you have created, use as container for packing. So uh, nowadays, if you have seen, right, when you go to a store, sometimes we also end up buying the bags, right? uh, I don't know if it happens in Hong Kong, but in India, usually to I when I go for shopping, I have to also buy a bag. Nowadays, bags are also not free, the shopping bags. So you can also configure those items, and I mean, they have some price associated with it. Let's say $9, $2, 1 cent, 5 cents, 10 cents, something like that. So nowadays, even retailers are also selling those bags. So they also categorize those items as container items for their packing. You getting it right? So those flags are handy.
But this tick box is just for that plastic bag or something like
Correct,
that.
correct. So, where it is used, as I said, an item can have hundreds of attributes associated with it when it is created in the database. So at the time of billing, when they scan that item, it comes handy that this is a container item. Okay.
Can we just create another like item type or material type, like surface material to handle this?
Yes, service items you can create. So I think I'll show you when we will land on the screens on a
Yeah,
real-time.
yeah, that would be great.
Here you can also create service items. So uh, let's say you are doing a delivery, right? And you wanted to add it as a service, right? You can do that. You can create work. Have you heard the concept of work orders?
Yes, kind of, yeah.
Right. So
But
work
you
orders.
can explain. Maybe I'm not having 100% knowledge about it.
Yeah, so I just give you a glimpse of it. So work orders are nothing but, I mean, in terms of OMS, work orders are kind of when we deal with appointments for delivery. So let's say you have furniture items in OMS, right? Furniture retailer. So usually for furniture items doesn't when you go for a delivery, you cannot bear the cost of customer not showing up at home, because you will be sending the furniture item in a truck or a container, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you cannot afford, because the deliveries are very costly for furniture items, right? So generally in OMS, you have a concept of work orders. What are work orders? They are service items that can be added to an order, and you can create an appointment document on top of that. And based on that service item, you can add a cost to the system, right? To the order, to the sales order, that this is a delivery item, this is a delivery service that let's say $10 of delivery service I'm adding, and you can also track the delivery against that item.
Right.
So those are handled in OMS as part of work orders. Like sales order, we have return orders, we have transfer orders. So similarly, there is a concept of work orders in OMS, which comes handy when you start building any system for an appointment tracking or something like that.
Okay.
Okay. Um, Then we have, so once you create an item after this screen, when you click on the save button, you end up on this screen. And on this screen, when you end up, you can define. So now you can see here only 2 or 3 attributes. When you land up on this, you get a lot of tabs which have another set of attributes, and each tab have a lot of other attributes. And these are just a UI. When you create item from an API, you will see another 100 set of item attributes. So
Right.
here you can see my master catalog. You can set up the status, whether this item is held. It's not published to the customer. You can define it over here. So it has its own status codes. So in OMS, let's say when you get an order, uh, just give me a second, Duncan. My daughter is here.
That's okay.
Yeah. Yes. So coming back to here, so we have different kind of statuses like held, published, or uh, or you say not, no more available. Let's say this item has been deprecated. Let's say you might have an iPhone 4, which obviously has no value today, right? So though you might have that in your catalog still today, so you mark it as held or unpublished, that this item is no longer available for to publish to the customers screen and all that. So why these are important? So whenever you get an order, you cannot get an order if an item is in held. So by mistake, if the front end application has sent you an order which is held in OMS, you cannot create an order of it. You will throw an error to the system that this item is unpublished. Either you first correct my catalog in OMS, then you pass that order to me.
Okay.
So these are very important attributes. Uh, you can define the description. You can define maximum order quantities. Let's say sometime if it is a fast going item, some iPhone is launched today, or any OnePlus phone is launched today. So you know the kind of orders that we are getting in, and sometimes people start doing black marketing also, right? So for that you can maintain that values over here. Unit cost, if you want to maintain any pricing in OMS, you can maintain it. uh, all those details, manufacturer items, everything. I mean, there are chunks of things. Even if you ask me, in my 10 to 11 years of experience in OMS, I have not gone through each and every attribute. These, because you cannot go through the each and every API documentation of OMS. It's a very vast system, right? As you keep working on OMS implementation, you realize, okay, this attribute comes handy. So when you start converting your business requirements to a technical requirements, you first look up. So this is a way how you should start designing OMS. Let's say you get a requirement where you say, okay, I wanted to build my items in such a way that I wanted to keep a maximum quantity limitation on my items. So for that, how will you design it? First of all, the very first thing that should come to your mind is you should check the product documentation, whether that any attribute comes handy out of the box. Okay, and then you will see, okay, yeah, there is an attribute which you can use, right? And if it is not there, you can extend your item database to add one extra column to your database, let's say maximum order quantity. So this is how you design. I mean, I'm just telling you about the approach, that how you should cater to any business requirement and how can you design an item.
Yeah. One quick question. Are we able to handle the grading of the product here in the catalog?
Are you talking about ratings of the
Great
product?
ratings, for example, an item having the same item number and UPC code, but then we have different grades. Like we have some defects on some particular inventory, and then we would like to move it from grade A to grade B, for example. Are we able to handle this here, or we
Mm,
need to handle that in from inventory point of view?
no, we don't have grading as of now. I know in Sterling OMS. I mean, I got your requirement. So if you want to maintain those gradings, it's not there as of now today. Uh, but what you can do is you can mark. Uh, those items basically as held or unpublished based on a grading. If you want to do, let's say if you want to correct something at your end and you wanted to do, so you can do that. But as per I know, I can definitely check Duncan on that once, but as per my knowledge, I have not seen any grading attributes. I can quickly check today itself on the API documentation, but as of now I have not seen, and I think it's not there.
That would be great because I was thinking if we have, for example, in the website, we would like to create a bazaar there selling some items that we also sell in the ordinary main page, but they have some defects. They are sharing the same item number, for example, and then also everything are the same, just the price and the grading is different. How are we going to handle this?
Yeah, coming to this question of yours. So in a very first slide, I told you, right? Like whenever you deal with any customer facing applications, generally OMS cataloging systems are not recommended to be used on websites.
Hmm.
So OMS maintains only up to that configurations which are required to capture an order and to fulfill an order. Okay, but if you ask me, all those the feature that you're talking about, this is something confined to your cataloging system, which are usually handled at your front applications, and we only get the data in OMS. I mean, I'm talking to you from my point of experience, because in OMS we don't maintain the catalog on a very dynamic basis. In OMS we don't refresh catalog on a day-to-day basis.
Hmm.
Only, let's say, uh, when you go live for the first time, you load all the catalog and item data to OMS on the very first day. After that, it's always deltas that comes to your OMS. Let's say if an item becomes unpublished, or if an item, a newly item is added to the catalog, those things comes into OMS. But if you ask me, uh, these kind of things, grading and all, they are not maintained within OMS, because they
Got
are
it.
of part of your cataloging system, cataloging people, that they have to categorize. Okay, I have 100 units of defected iPhones in my this warehouse. Somehow they have landed up with some issue in the phones, and I have to mark them defected for sale. So for that, they will, in OMS, we will still maintain the inventory for those items, for those iPhones as 100 units in a particular store, in that particular warehouse. But we don't need to know as an OMS to capture the order that these has been this has been no longer available for order. The only thing that we should know is we should we should get a feed from the inventory system, for whatever inventory business system is managing the inventory of warehouse. They should send a feed to OMS that for this particular 100 units in this particular warehouse, please mark the inventory as non sellable,
Got it. Yeah.
or you can remove it from your inventory picture. You should
Yeah.
not even show it to front end that 100 units are available, because these are defected. So we will get a minus 100 inventory update delta for that particular item as an iPhone, that please, on this particular fulfillment location, that is a warehouse, please mark them, uh, please reduce it by minus 100.
Okay. Yeah.
So generally speaking, we don't maintain in OMS, but yeah, it's a good thing that you talked about it. I can check in my end if we have any attributes, if it is there, but generally it is not maintained through OMS, because OMS catalogs are very static, they're not dynamic
Right.
enough. Uh, Item configuration. So all these are primary informations. So you can, I mean, you can go and read through it, and I mean, it's just I would talk about the main concept, but these are just attributes you can define in OMS. So this is GTIN number. So cross-referencing the same item, when you different function, use different item ID. So what is this? So as I talked about, right, the example of socks, right? So you can sell it on a apparel also, and you can sell it on a footwear, and you can maintain a different item ID, because they should be, it should be tagged to only a single catalog, right? But as a business, it's the same item for you, correct? So
Right.
if business wants to refer it, you can use this GTIN number, which is a universal global number kind of attribute for a business to categorize the item. So even though that item is sold as socks 1 in apparel business and socks 2 in footwear business, but it has a unique GTIN number with for business with which business recognize that item. So when they do the actual reporting, right, that how many units they have sold of this item, all those stuff, they will not use the item ID. Okay, they will use the GTIN number basically to understand, okay, for this GTIN number we have sell 80 units, 40 in apparel, 40 in footwear.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
so I mean, all these things are available in OMS, which helps you to categorize the items at a local level and also at a parent level. Then I talked about unit of measure, right? How can you
Yep.
quantify your one item that you're creating? So each is like an inventory UM, ordering UM. So you wanted to place one unit, one piece, basically. Each is kind of a piece, you can say, for of a t-shirt for you. And it's inventory UM means inventory is maintained at this unit of measure. Ordering UM means even when you're ordering, you will be ordering at this UM only. So when you say, when you enter in your front end application two quantities, it means two each units of this particular t-shirt you're ordering, and even the inventory is maintained at that. Now case is an ordering UM. Usually it is not maintained at an inventory UM, because case is something like uh, uh, it's like you have a case, okay, uh, in which you might have 10 balls, 10 tennis balls.
Mhm.
You're getting my point, right? You order a
Yep.
case of 10 tennis balls, but in OMS we are not maintaining the inventory at a case level. Maybe we are maintaining inventory at a each level. So each one single tennis ball is one each unit of tennis ball, right? And but a customer is ordering case means we have to pack 10 units of tennis ball in a single case and deliver it to the customer. So your ordering UM is case, but inventory UM is not case, it's each,
Right.
right?
Clear.
Similarly to pallet. So I mean, generally I mean, you can configure any of them. Palette is just an example. That palette is basically what? It's a it's a kind of a flat transport structure, right? In
Yeah.
which I mean, which basically
Like carton or whatsoever. Something
it's
we
kind of
use.
a, yeah, it's kind of a wooden slab kind of thing where you just maintain your goods or supports goods in a fashionable manner so that it can be easily lifted by the forklift or something like that, right?
Mm.
So so generally sometimes you maintain inventory at a pallet level, right? So let's say when you get inventory into a store, right? Let's say you get, so in a warehouse, right? So a truck unloads, let's say, 10 pallets of uh, TV units, right? So what does that mean? Maybe in a single pallet you have 5 units. So when you maintain inventory, you say, okay, I have 10 pallets of inventory, but this is not an ordering UM, right? You will not go to a website and you say I wanted 10 pallets of TV, correct?
Mhm.
So, but in maybe you might want to maintain inventory in a pallets level, that okay, how many pallets of TV units I have in my warehouse, something like that. So it's these are the three examples, but you can add any of your own. It's up to you. It's up to your business. You can what you want to do. It's up to your business requirements, how you want it to maintain. This is just an example shown in your system. I gave you three different examples. One is both inventory and ordering, one is only ordering, one is only inventory. But it's up to you how you want to organize in your business, how your business works.
Okay.
Then we have unit of measures or alternates. So there are many alternate UMs where you can define the weight of the UM. I mean, you wanted to go much more into details. Alternate UM can be used to sell item in quantities that differ in the way they are stored as inventory. So for an example, talking about a grocery shop, right? Maybe they have a one single bag of rice, right? Let's say 10 kg of rice, but they might want to sell at like 1 kg also. So these are alternative, right? So you can maintain, though you're maintaining inventory at a 10 kg level of bag, but you wanted to sell only at a 1 kg for 500 grams, like that. So this is how this comes into picture.
But the system actually will automatically calculate based on this information when we receive an order, or it's just for information only.
No, right. So basically what happens over here is, let's say you maintaining an inventory at a kgs level, for an example, right? Like just giving an example, and you got an order for 5 kg, right? So how many units are left now is 5 kg, but your item ID is still one, right? That is rice, and you have 5 kg of left. You have one unit, means 10 kgs, and out of that 5 kgs has been consumed as part of alternate and now your one unit is presenting to only 5 kg. It's like that. It's automatic.
Okay.
I frankly speaking, I have not seen this kind of thing in any business. Uh, but I mean, in OMS, usually it's an item, it's in each level. I have not seen it at a at this kind of granular level. I mean, because usually even on the websites nowadays, right, you find every, let's say, even if you talk about quantifying things, right, so you will find even different item IDs at a quantity level also, right? So let's say if you're ordering 500 gram of your rice, you will get a different SKU ID. If you're ordering 1 kg of a rice, you will get a different SKU ID. They might be related to a single GTIN, but they have a different item ID in OMS.
But one quick question, one very quick question. Do we have something like translation table of these measures in the OMS? Like
Uh,
having denominator 1 cm equals to
Correct.
10 mm, something like that.
Correct. It is there. So basically,
Okay.
you can maintain that. In if you see unit dimensions, right? All those things will come, and when you will look into the API, you will get to know, okay, conversion quantity to inventory So basically, this is
Okay.
an alternate you can how it will convert to that. So all that system is there in OMS. So
Got it.
as your first question popped up, automatically OMS will derive the remaining value basically.
Okay.
You
Got
don't
it.
have to do anything. But this is hardly used. I mean, I have worked with a grocery retailer also. I worked with Tesco also, and they did have this kind of requirement, but they didn't do. I mean, that also 10 years back, I remember. 2 days, I don't think, because everything comes in a packaging nowadays, right? So, and they have a different item ID altogether.
Okay.
Very low level of retailers, I would say, which are very new to the market, or local retailers of a country might do this today, but I don't think they can afford OMS as their order management system. So generally retailers like big as Ralph Lauren, they don't have this kind of requirements popping.
Right. True.
So ordering so you can see this is a small screenshot, this particular piece from a order page of OMS, uh, and it has order lines. So all these 3 lines has been ordered, and then you can see the ordering so they have ordered a case level, each level like that. Okay, and they have the line quantities, like how many quantities of case they have ordered, how many quantities of each unit have they ordered, like that. Pricing pricing is generally like how you want to do the pricing. So for example, but as I told you, pricing generally doesn't matter in OMS. Pricing, we are not, so usually in OMS by default pricing is maintained at a unit level. So that's something you can take as a thumb rule. We generally don't do pricing at a quantity level or like a weight level or something like that. I mean, it's never a good practice, because you end up doing a lot of calculations at the time of payment, which lands you into a penny problem. You might have heard that penny difference problem, right?
Yep.
So you will lose 0.001 of your dollar on every calculation. So that's why it's never recommended. OMS built picture where long back when these things used to happen, but nowadays it's not required. So mostly pricing UM are at each level. Whatever inventory UM are maintaining, usually that is generally a pricing UM also.
Okay.
Inventory info. So in item page also you have an inventory info where you define some of the information, right? So here you define how many on-hand safety factor quantities, percentage. I'll talk about this when you come to the inventory sessions, but just to give a glimpse of you of it to you, like usually nowadays retailers maintain a safety factor. So what is safety factor? So let's say you have 100 units of, you have 10 units of an t-shirt in your store, but you only show 8 to the customer. You keep 2 for a safer side in case of any mishappening happens, so that you don't have a bad customer experience. For example, uh, you, let's say I have 20 quantities of an item in my store, but I might show 10 to the front end, to the website. The reason being, I'm keeping 10 units safer for the walk-in customers also, right? Because I have done my analysis and I know that for this, or for this item, uh, I can get 10 orders from online, but I will also have some walk-in customers which will be buying this product. So there can be a chance that a customer has, if I show 20 to the website and a customer by mistake, I got an order of 15. And meanwhile, a customer walks in and he purchases those 2 items, 4 units of it, then I will end up doing basically half fulfillment to the online customer. And this is a bad experience, right? For online.
Mm.
This can happen frequent if you don't maintain this configuration. So it's a very important configuration that every retailer maintains. And there's another reason for it. You also wanted to maintain this because sometimes at the time of packing and during the operation work, pick, backroom pick, things get toned off, right? Things get ruptured, things get defected, or you find that the piece is defected, but you still want to fulfill. So you don't want to take, don't want to oversell on a website. So you always want to keep a buffer at your end. So that's why this configuration is very important, right? Uh, you can, and then you have a lot of other ATP rules, ATP monitor rules. We will talk about this when we come more detail in the inventory part of it, because these are more confined to that. But in a general and an item page, you can maintain some inventory level information also, like expiration days. So by default, in how many days this item will get expired. So once this item get expired, this is no longer available for to sell. And even though if you have inventory, but it has been expired, so you cannot sell it. Lead days. So how many lead days you have uh, for this product to come into your inventory, right? Then you have node level ATP monitor rules. What is this monitor rules? This is a monitor rules in OMS which helps you to monitor your inventory, which helps you to publish your inventory data to any of your front end applications like websites. So you can define which monitor rule is configured on this item, so that based on that it is monitored and being sent to the front end application. Because usually in OMS there is a process of real time availability monitor, which basically monitor your OMS inventory and sends it to the customer. So send it to the customer facing application like web app, .com website and all that. Because ultimately, eventually your OMS is your inventory management system, correct? Because it has all the inventory, all the supply and the demand data,
Right.
correct?
Mhm.
So it's become very important to monitor your inventory and send regular feeds to your front end application that, okay, I had a supply of 10, but you send, but I got a demand of 2 from .com side and 2 from the web app side. So technically speaking, I have only 6 units. But if you see on the .com, because they only send a demand of 2, they might can show 8, but you also got a demand of 2 from web app as your order management application. So technically you have 6 demand, 6 supply, but your web app application is still showing 8 and your front end .com also showing 8. So you just send those updates to them that even if you have sent me 2 units of demand and order, it's not 8, it's 6 now because I got a 2 from a different channel also.
Okay.
Okay, so inventory monitoring is a very important piece of OMS, because OMS is a single place of consolidation of inventory, because you can have multiple sales channel, multiple organization sending you orders, but they don't have information of each other demands, right? So OMS is a place where you have all your demand consolidated, all your final availability picture, which should be populated to the front end. And this should be a very fast process, because in milliseconds you can get multiple orders, right, from
Mm-hmm.
different. So this is a very, very sensitive area of OMS. And you have heard the uh, inventory visibility part, right? uh,
Yes.
API. They have built it, but it has its own cons related to it. So they are coming up with version 2 of it, where this monitoring part will completely move to that IV service. OMS will no longer handle that.
We have much interest about that, indeed,
Yeah.
to understand about those features and so on and so forth.
I mean, frankly speaking, that IV 2.0 is very new. I mean, even last 6 months only it came up for the retailers. Even I have not much experience on how it was. I have gone through the documentation, but I can definitely, when we come to the inventory section, I will talk about it a bit, right? But generally speaking, it's not been tested so far, even though it's an IBM product. IBM also have a lot of issues, frankly speaking, but uh, currently even we are building that product only that we are trying to build. So we know the issues related to it. So today what happened, they have built a IV application in 2018 and they went live. So but it only provide you only 20% of the features that OMS provide. So what it was providing, it was only a database where you can check the inventory and consolidate inventory,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't have a facility to monitor the inventory and send the regular updates to any application. So that part was still being done by OMS. So what was happening, there were two sources of truth for their application. For the visibility, they were checking IV, and for the monitoring, OMS was sending the feed. So there was a discrepancy, right? You are making two system as source of truth for one system, correct?
Right.
So, so that's why they came up recently last year. They came up with IV 2.0, where they move this monitoring application also out of OMS and put it into the IV itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Okay.
now they have a single place where you can look up the inventory and where you can get the feed also.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting, but it has its own cons still related to it, which they don't mention. And because we in our one of our current land I mean implementation, and we are facing issues over there, and they say they cannot do anything. And now what we are doing is we are ended up building a full standalone application, a full product within the company itself, uh, and that's what we are building right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is item details. Again, you can define sourcing configurations over here. Some of the sourcing, like shipping is allowed, pickup is allowed for this item, procurement is allowed, whether we can procure it from any of the other uh, buyer or seller basically, or any of the, or we can whether procure it from any other store. If delivery is allowed, forwarding is allowed, like whether this item can be forwarded to another item, or to any other location, sorry. So item substitution on order allowed, whether if this you don't have this item, whether this item can be substituted by any other lookalike item of same quality. uh, so all those features are there. We'll talk about this in sourcing section, but just a glimpse of it over here, that you will get all these attributes.
Mm,
And
okay.
we have item classification. We have harmonized codes, commodity code, like a lot of codes you can maintain, tags, hazardous material class, whether it is a hazardous item, something like that, like batteries are hazardous items. So those can be configured as hazardous items. So storage type, how you want to store, all these attributes are there. Some of them hardly I have used it in my life, but it is there. You can make use of it. So I mean, it's about when you get a requirement, you try to first relate it to the out of the box features and attributes. If it is not there, then you go for the extended ones you created by your own. But it's always recommended to first look into the IBM documentation to see whether they have provided this feature or not.
Okay.
Not learn all this, right? It's a vast system. So, but you have a documentation, Java docs, where you can go and read it. So classification I told you about, like we have a product line like electronics, in that you can have TVs, ACs, microwaves. So that's where you can bring up the categories, and you can also define the product lines and the classifications. Then similarly, this is a screen for that, where you can define the classification and you can define the attributes related to that classification level also. Rather than maintaining these attributes in an item level, you can maintain a classification and you can maintain these attributes at a classification level. I mean, kind of a grouping, right? So let's say if any electronics items are there, they most probably will be related to, let's say, batteries, right? So they can be added as I mean, hazardous unit. So you can add, we can create one classification as product line as electronics, and under that you can maintain all electronic items, and you can define all these attributes at a classification level. So if any order comes for these items, these classifications can be read upon from them, right?
Okay.
Right. On item level. So grouping can be done. Okay. Then we have again classification definition. You define what kind of definition you want to give it to it. Okay, and you define what is the purpose of it, that why are you defining the classification for this. So it's similar like what they have configured here. It's this extended screens. And then you define classification values. So let's say here you can define the values. So let's say for an item one, this is a classification and you wanted to define the value of this classification, the gas range to something. So you can define and come to the item and you can define the value over here. If you within the classification also the values can differ, right? So here you can do that. Other attributes, you can define any other like UPC code, some alias to your items that you can maintain, that you can do. But hardly speaking of it, it's not of much use because I've not seen many people using it. But yeah, you can maintain any aliases of your item, like you wanted to maintain any kind of code or something. Sometime giving an example, right? um, I give you an example, right? Let's say you wanted to maintain, you have operations in 7 countries, right? And you have a single catalog for all those 7 countries. Now there is an item that comes to you, but you cannot sell it in 3 regions because of some legal issues. So you can make use of item aliases where you can maintain these configuration. Let's say this item, because we have a single catalog across different 7 organizations and that are geographical organization, and now you wanted to maintain that this item cannot be sold on the 3 of the regions. So in aliases you can maintain that value, that only these organizations can sell this item. Even though it is maintained at a parent catalog level, other organizations can see it, but they cannot sell it. So that kind of can come into picture. So these are extended data attributes that helps you to configure items so that you can leverage any of the business requirements. Associations. So item associations, I think you understand, like cross sell, upsell, super session. Then we have alternative, then we have competitive, then we have preferred substitution. So these are like you create items in associations with each other. So let's say if you're selling one TV, right? You wanted to cross sell one, let's say a USB cable, right? Something like that. That if you're buying or let's say if you're buying a phone, right? Sometimes you see on Amazon, you will also see the tempered glass with it, right? Or a screen guard. So that keeps showing on you. So that's nothing but a cross sell. You just sell a cross sell item. So sometimes it's an alternative way to do more sales, right? Then upsell. Let's say if you're buying an Android phone of, let's say,
2 GB RAM, but you might see another option that in another 1000 rupees you're getting a 4 GB RAM phone. So it's an upsell. You try to sell your expensive item to get more benefit. Super session is like if you're buying a phone uh, which might have a low rating, so you superset by it by another phone which have a high rating, right? Alternative. So if you don't have, let's say, an iPhone 14, you try to sell iPhone 15 maybe at a discounted price, right? That we don't have iPhone 14, but if you buy iPhone 15, you might give you 5,000 discount, right? Something like that. Then we have a competitive thing. Let's say if you're buying an Samsung TV and somebody shows you Sony TV over there, like why you're buying a Samsung, Sony is the best brand in terms of TVs. So you go to Sony and you buy that. It's almost of the same range. So it's a competitive way. You can create item associations. Preferred substitutions are like you provide to give them a substitution that, okay, we have